Hello and welcome back to another video on Jesus Christ, F125. Apparently I'm not with it at all. We're back on the career mode. Yippee for me. This time we're at Silverstone. It's a race that I'm not as good at as Austria, so we're not expecting another podium. I think I got on the podium at Austria. Did I? I actually can't remember if I got on the podium in the last race. But anyway, not as good as a race, and as we will come to find out, it gets harder. As we look to our right and left, we go onto the computer, and you're about to see the struggle. It's gonna be raining. I cannot drive in the rain. It goes dry at the end of the race, which is nice, but for all the qualifying and the race, and the start of the race at least, it looks like full wet tyres, which means we are going to have a lot of fun on our hands. So anyway, coming into qualifying, it's absolutely chucking it down. We're not going to be seeing speed. Well, Crofty, let's be honest, mate. We're not going to be seeing speed at all. But anyway, of course, having the wets on. Loading into the setup, putting on our Great Britain one, of course we are. And we're going to do what they do in real life. And we're going to put in a couple laps of fuel, because that's what they do in F1. I actually don't know the reason why they do that in F1. But yeah. We're going to do multiple laps in one run, come back in, and then do multiple laps on our final run. Of course, unless anything changes. So coming out of the pits, we are right behind an Alpine of someone. Gasly, there it is. A little bit slidey out the pit lane, of course. We're going to be very cold conditions, very cold tyres. But anyway, on to the lap itself. As we come around the Vale chicane, probably, oddly enough, quite a hard corner for me. In this video, you're going to see quite a lot of times where I lose the back end a little. I cannot control the rear through Vale corner for some reason. But anyway, through turn 1 and 2, we're trying our best. It's quite hard to comment. I don't know how fast you're supposed to go through there, especially in the wet. But we set a 33.681 in the first sector, which doesn't sound fast at all, I'm going to be honest. But like I said, I don't know the timings for wets. I could be challenging top 5. I'm not that good at Silverstone, but it's something. And coming out of Chapel, it goes to a 119.2 after the middle sector, down the hanger straight, cut to the end of Vale chicane, where we keep it a lot more controlled, but we probably lost a lot of speed getting up on the curb, and it's a 148.7. 1.7 seconds behind Nico Hülkenberg, who's in 12th. And coming back into the pits, because it's going to intermediates, apparently, as we found out. We were radioed back in for inters, so we're going to switch to them after we play with realising it changes the delta live. But yeah, we are last. And we're 2 seconds last of the driver ahead of us, so pretty solidly last. But anyway, onto the inters. We put 4 laps of fuel into the car, so we're going to do out lap, do a flying lap, do a cool down lap, do another flying lap, and then our in lap. Or is it called a recharge lap, whatever it's called, as the 5-minute counter starts as we come out the pit lane. On the inters, we feel a lot more controlled. I feel like in both qualifying and the race, I think my best stage was on the inters. Unfortunately, we didn't time it right though, and we're going to be met with a lot of traffic as we cross the line to start our lap. And already, of course, improvement of conditions, improvement of tyres, and you're seeing that difference already through the delta. As we come down towards turn 3, is Ocon going to get out of the way? We lose the rear a little, and it's actually just about timed right for him to get out of the way. Sonoda, pretty much the best he could have done there, unless he's going to go off the track, which here I don't. Lawson and Behrman almost collide getting out of the way. And now we get up the back of Piastri as we go purple in the middle sector, and he's just not going to move. hit him in the rear because I was really expecting him to move. So we've lost some time through Woodcut as we come out of there, and we're about 2.8 seconds. Pretty decent. Is Albon going to move? No, the hell he isn't. Okay, cheers, mate. Through Cops, we go wide a little bit again. Of course, we're not on strict, so Alonso gets out the way. But yeah, we're not on strict, so it doesn't really matter about corner cutting that much. Especially in this weather, I don't think I'd trust myself to complete a single lap on strict. If I was given 50 laps to do it, I don't think I'd do one clean. Coming down towards Stowe, Hadjar once again in the way. Is he going to get out the way? We understeer a little bit into the curb, and now Hadjar gets out the way. And as we come around Vale, it looks like we're going to set a 142, is that? 142.682. And we do only have a minute 30 to get back around, so after letting through some of the traffic, get around to the end of the lap and realise we do not have enough time, so we pull into the pit lane very, very slowly, realising that we've royally fucked our qualifying session. Unfortunately enough, so we're going to be starting P17, P18, P19 as Yuki Tsunoda goes fastest. We are starting ahead of Charles Leclerc though. P20 now as one of the Haas's improves. But we're starting ahead of two quick drivers. Hopefully that gives a push. Hopefully not. It pushes us even further down, because of course it's very visible that we are slow, and McLaren improved anyway. But yeah, it's very visible that we're slow, so hopefully we don't lose that all off the start. But anyway, go on, Crofty.
Second World War aircraft base, now converted into one of the great motor racing tracks. Britain is one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every year of the Formula One World Championship, and long may that continue. This is Silverstone, and this is the British Grand Prix. Silverstone circuit then is 3.6 miles long, has a total of 18 corners, and of course is no stranger to the rain. There won't be any DRS available in these conditions, but the Wellington and Hangar straights are still good opportunities to tuck into the slipstream and make a pass. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Yuki Tsunoda lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Antonelli, Piastri, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Albon, Stroll, Behrman, Gasly, and Liam Lawson.
Pretty average top 10,
Ocon,
but we're missing
Leclerc,
Charles Leclerc,
Richard Verschoor, and Bortoletto, Hulkenberg, Fernando Alonso,
should have been
Isaac
higher.
Hadjar,
There's
and
Verstappen.
Max Verstappen.
So we're missing
Norris,
Leclerc, Verstappen,
Doohan,
and Norris.
Crawford, and Carlos Sainz will start from the back
It's
of
a
the
pretty
grid.
normal top 10.
It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
Of course, I think Sainz should be higher as well. But I'm happy with P21. We're starting on the racing line. Up in our front wing a little bit just to help us through the wet, because wet makes you very understeery. We're going to underfuel the car because, of course, you're going to be coasting a lot more in the wet. So we're going underfueling, and for the strategy, we can see it's dry at the end, so we try to add a third stint to go onto the dries. Unfortunately, it doesn't let you. So we're just going to stick with the normal strategy. 13 laps on the wets, 13 laps on the wets. Of course, it's not going to happen. We can see on the radar it goes intermediate half through, goes dry at the end, so we don't need to worry about that much. Onto the formation lap, which I'm sure everyone's on the wets for. This is horrific weather, and it's just about to get more horrific, as I'm sure people will see once we get into the race. Here come the cars filing through the first couple of corners, and this is what we expect out of a British Grand Prix. British weather. Crofty said in the intro there's... Oh, okay. Crofty said there's another country that's hosted in every single year. What country would that be? Because it's not Monaco because of COVID. Is it Belgium? Belgium's had 3 different tracks, and when they did the Spa updates, didn't they go to a different track? The only other one I'm thinking of is Italy, with Monza, Imola and Mugello. They would have had a good rotation on it to always make sure that country's on the calendar, especially with Ferrari being the most decorated team. So I can't think what the other country would be, but it's probably one of them too. But anyway, signs, lines up last on the grid. The lights are coming on. All the cars are revving. And we are racing in Silverstone, in Great Britain. It's actually quite a good start from us. We already get ahead of Doohan, and Sainz did not get ahead of us, and we moved to the left hand side of Norris, and we're already trying to get ahead of Hadjar as well. But we understeer massively through turn 1, and look at the spray off all the cars. Instantly no visibility. Verstappen gets ahead of Hadjar. We get boxed in by the Red Bull and the Racing Bulls. But we are still going to try around the outside of Verstappen and Hadjar. Now we're going to join them and make it 3 wide into turn 4. And do we get the double overtake as we get a big snap of oversteer out the exit. And Verstappen gets ahead of us, but we stay ahead of Hadjar. It's P18 after the first sector. That's an alright start from us, considering the fact that we are terrible in the wet. Pretty average at the track, as we get some oversteer in the braking, and now Hadjar breaks ahead of us. So already losing more positions. Norris still only in P20, but I'm sure he'll get back past us soon enough. We get another snap of oversteer out the exits. Doohan is on the left of us. Lando Norris is right behind us. We've sort of boxed him in here. He doesn't want to go any deeper through Cops. Unfortunately, speaking of deep, we went massively wide into the corner. Lost the places Doohan and Norris, and now we're wheel to wheel through Carlos Sainz through the S's of Maggots, Beckett and Chappell. We do keep the place though ahead of Carlos Sainz, but it's been a pretty awful first lap. At the start it was looking alright, but through the second sector we lost a lot of positions. Back to where we started alongside Carlos Sainz in P21. And now through Stowe, Carlos Sainz gets ahead, so that's P22. So we've lost 1 position on lap 1. It doesn't sound that bad until you realise that does now mean we're last. We come out the final corner and we can't keep the car in a straight line for the life of us, and we're constantly getting little snaps after little snaps through Vale, as now we bring it round turn 1 and 2, and look at the gap already to Carlos Sainz. We've only been through 1 straight, but already 4 laps later we're recommended to come in for the inters. I was waiting for the call, and all 20 other drivers came into the pits with us, so it was 1 Sauber that has stayed out. And the only sort of thing we can hope for here is maybe some drivers being held up in the pit lane. It does look like some drivers are being held up. The Sauber was held up, and I think the Alpine was as well. But it doesn't really mean much for us, as we're still coming out the pit lane in last. But that's Nico Hulkenberg who's now leading the race, trying to do what he did in real life in 2025. Just get a massive snap of oversteer and we tap the Wolf. Slight bit of front wing damage, but it shouldn't affect us too much as we come out the pits. 2.1 seconds behind Gabriel Bortoletto. Nico Hulkenberg to me caught up very quickly, not only because he's in a slow Sauber ahead of the Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari McLaren, but he's now also the only driver still on the full wets. No, drivers aren't fitting full wets, Mark. Hulkenberg did end up pitting, and now he's mid-pack, but he still looks like he's top 10, which is insane to me. But we're now on the back of Gabriel Bortoletto, less than a second, so we've sunk down some time. It just took 5 laps, because you've got to remember we pitted on lap 6, it's already lap 11. That's how long it took us to catch back up with the grid. As now we sort of had the intermediate tyres on lock. We know we've learnt how to drive in the intermediates. Got the tyres charged up, we're charged up. The only thing not charged up is the battery, and apparently our rear tyres are too charged up. But anyway, at the end of lap 11 we can read the advertising on the back of the Sauber rear wing, but we get a little bit of a snap through Vale. Lose a little bit of time. Can we stay within a second of Gabriel Bortoletto? It looks like we can. Next lap, back at the Vale chicane, best place to make an overtake. Get right up on the back of Gabriel Bortoleto again, but once again we're just not quite close enough to try and think of the first overtake since moving on to the Inters. It's going to take a couple of laps here, but it looks like they're being held up by one of the racing bulls. Maybe Isaac Hadjar is that? Yes it is, I can just about see his name as we're entering yellows. And it's Esteban Ocon, he's parked just there, he is there, and it's a VSC for it as well. So this is some time where we can recharge the battery maybe. It doesn't look like we're doing that. Instead we're concerned VSC is currently out. Maybe we can make a pit stop, go onto the dries early, but it's way too wet. We can see it, but we're being optimistic here. If we're the first driver out onto the dry tyres, get that little bit of an advantage out, and maybe get something out of this race, but unfortunately we don't have the time to do that at the moment. The weather is not on our side at all. VSC is now ending as well. Bring the ERS mode back up, and we should have actually underfueled a lot more than we should have, looking at it in the bottom right. But anyway, we are right in the back of Gabriel Bortoleto here. Hadjar leading Alonso doing signs, and then it's Bortoleto and us, and into the Vale chicane. We move to the left hand side, down the inside at the Vale chicane, and we do get ahead. Finally an overtake that wasn't before turn 1 on the first lap. We've actually made a real overtake here, but is Gabriel Bortoleto gonna fight back? As we come around turn 1 and 2, is he close enough at turn 3? No, he isn't. So we have claimed P20, at least for now. We are P20 as we come around turn 4, and already on the back of Sainz we get a little bit of a snap here, losing that time now to Sainz, but a couple of laps later we are back on the back of Sainz through the Vale chicane again, mirror image to what we did to Bortoleto, as we get ahead of the Williams of Carlos Sainz and up into P20. Finally making some advancements here. Maybe we can catch up to that grid, to that train that's being held up by the Haas, if we get ahead of Alonso and Hadjar before the dries come out. Are we close enough at turn 3 to make a move on Dewar? No, but Carlos Sainz isn't close enough either to do the same thing to us. So as we come around turn 4, we are officially P19. Pretty good so far. As we come out onto the Wellington straight, no mind, we're going to cut straight to the Vale chicane where we're looking at getting past Dewar. We're wheel to wheel with him, and we get right up onto the curb. Probably not the best option to do, because in fact it's low grip. We go very, very wide, and maybe overtake him off the track. Doohan fights back, but into turn 1 we keep the place. We go a little bit wide though, but we do get into P18, but we've lost a lot of time to Alonso and Hadjar ahead. We're on lap 17, it's P18. Pretty fitting that is. So we've finally found some pace with the Inters at the end of lap 17. We've extended that gap massively to Doohan behind, and we've caught right up to Hadjar and Alonso, who with less of a train behind them now, they're starting to get a move on. Their Inters have sort of sunk in now, but ours have sunk in a lot more, and we're right in the back of Alonso. Look how much time we've gained through turn 1 and 2, but unfortunately we're not close enough at turn 3 to try and think of something. So lap 18 and P18 for us at the moment, as we're told we're on the crossover for the dries. I've told Mark I'm boxing Carlos Sainz on the left hand side of us, and Mark is now telling us that everyone else will be pitting. The top 3 have missed the pit window, but it is very clearly drier on lap 20, and I believe that's Oscar Piastri in P4. Is he going to be pitting here? This will be interesting. If other drivers are pitting, that's when we know it's time. Oscar Piastri did not pit. Will Alex Albon pit? Alex Albon pits. We officially have drivers in the pit lane. There's a yellow flag as well for a Red Bull. That's Max Verstappen. He got back to the pits in time though. But already we have a lot of drivers pitting and onto the dry tyres. And you can see how much of a gap there is from drivers who didn't, with Yuki Tsunoda, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton in the top 3, all the way down to us, with Gabriel Bortoleto, Doohan, Sainz and ourselves. They're closing the gap on us, but I'm sure they'll be pitting this lap as well, as we turn into our pit box. Once again an optimal, and here come the tyre change, and for a front right could not be connected. We're held up a little bit in the pits. But yeah, it seems alright at the moment. We're still P19. We haven't lost any places. We get more oversteer coming out of the pit lane, and we actually crossed the white line. We didn't get a warning for it, which is quite surprising. Or even a time penalty. I know how dangerous it is crossing the white line, as there's another yellow flag down at Cops. It's our teammate, Richard Verschoor, and another virtual safety car. So there's 2 DNFs, and Verstappen was close to DNFing as well. So as we come down the Wellington Straight, there's a VSC, a lap later, also down the Wellington Straight. Gabriel Bortoleto is on our backside. He decides to move to the right hand side. He doesn't have enough grip though to continue the outside line, or at least try and turn it into the inside through this corner. So we stay ahead of Gabriel Bortoleto as we move on to the old pit straight and down into Cop's corner. Is there going to be a Verstappen Hamilton sort of thing from back in 2021? No, there isn't. He's nowhere near close enough. So through Cop's corner, we get up a little bit on the curb on both mid-corner and exit, but we do stay ahead. Down towards Stowe corner, down the hanger straight. Gabriel Bortoleto moving to the left-hand side of us once again. Did get ahead, but he just doesn't have the grip or the downforce to stay ahead through the corner. So we stay ahead of him. As we move down into the Vale chicane, lap 23-26, we are still P14. As we get onto the Hamilton straight now, Gabriel Bortoleto still on our backside. It's a little bit concerning. He's going to be met with dirty air through turn 1 and 2. There's Hamilton, and now Norris sets the fastest lap. But into turn 3, still no, he still isn't close enough. Lap 24, and Gabriel Bortoleto once again on our backside. He's only 2 tenths behind, and he's in the slipstream, but he just doesn't quite have the horsepower to actually get alongside us this time. As we come round Stowe corner, down towards the Vale chicane, once again he's just not close enough to think about an inside line. He doesn't want to dive it, collide, maybe break his front wings, so he's just waiting patient. Onto the Hamel straight, lap 25-26. We skip to lap 26, the final lap of the race, and Hamilton and Norris are now behind us, so they must not have pitted when everyone else did onto the dries. They've lost out massively, and they're behind us now, as George Russell crossed the line to win the British Grand Prix. We have a British driver winning the British Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri's going around Vale to finish second place. But on the Wellington straight now, and it's a Ferrari that's on our backside. He doesn't have enough downforce to get round the outside of us. Can't hold it till it's the inside corner. On to the old pitch straight. We're still defending massively. There's a Ferrari and a McLaren both behind us here. Hamilton on the left hand side of us into Cop's corner. He understeers and he has to break out of the move, and now Norris gets ahead. His teammate, who's finished second, is currently battling for P14 through the S's and out the exit of Chapel onto the hanger straight again. Lando Norris right on the backside of us. He has the faster car. He's going to have way much more engine power, and on the right hand side of us he does get ahead, but into Stowe corner we break later, and we do get ahead of him once again, and through Stowe we are ahead into Vale. He doesn't think to make a move. He knows it's worthless. Either way it's worth 0 points. So we are going to come out of Vale corner very, very slowly, crawling out of Vale. And we see the train we were holding up. Doohan, Bortoleto, Lando Norris and Hamilton all finishing behind us. It's P14 for Jack Crawford, as Nico Hulkenberg gets driver of the day. Pretty average for the team, P14 for us, for sure, with an engine failure.
British, and the best on the track. It's George Russell who wins.
Oh, you call George Russell the best British driver? I mean, there's literally the most decorated driver that's British, but sure.
That's the important bit here. On home soil, the drivers delivered, the team delivered as well.
So Oscar Piastri P2, but it's George Russell that's P1. I didn't see who was P3 there. I think he walked past the screen, but I just didn't see who it was. But yeah, home winner, George Russell.
It's time now
Was
to
that a
celebrate
Williams?
with our podium trio.
Was that a Williams?
By George, he
What
was
the
good
f...
today.
d-
The
up-
top
up-
step on
up-
pace
up-
for
huh?
George Russell.
Alex Albon got on the podium. Technically a home race for him as well. He was born in London. I think it was London. He was born in England, despite representing the Thai flag. But George Russell wins in Britain. Oscar Piastri, British heritage, of course, being Australian, as Britain on his flag, technically. So we have 3 home drivers, but actually only one that represents the flag.
To another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Liam Lawson finished P4. That's huge for him. Carlos Sainz P5. Onto the standings. We stay P10 and P13 with Verschoor and Crawford. And in the Constructors' Championship then. Yeah, there is no changes in there, but in the Constructors we are P6. Once again, no changes there. So, we go back to the awesome music. Oh. Eventful. Tough. I think that's the best word I can think of. Tough Grand Prix. So we changed some of the components in the car and apply the new upgrades. And some random Donnies talking. I actually forgot to set the event, the activities. That's pretty terrible from me. We've missed half the summer. Yeah, we ain't reaching cost cap anytime soon. I love the music though. Sped up, this music's actually banging. Oh, Spa. I'm alright at Spa. Last year, I was racing as Ollie Behrman at the Haas, and I was P2, and then I spun out and recovered it to P5. It's a sprint weekend as well, so we're deciding to go for the harder tyre allocation, so we can keep an extra pair of mediums or hards for the race on Sunday. But yeah, and we'll be driving as Richard Verschoor as we were Jack Crawford in the last race. Of course, switching constantly between the drivers, but that does signify the end of this video. How's everyone else doing in a F1 career mode? How did you guys enjoy Australia? I enjoyed waking up at 3:30 in the morning to watch Australia. It was actually more eventful than I thought. Of course, there was the electrical failure with Hulkenberg. Oscar Piastri crash and 4 engine failures, or whatever the hell you want to call Aston Martin. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, just say anything please, and subscribe. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, good evening, and good night.